These are, of course, the sorts of questions which are inevitably raised when one comes face to face with the prospect of an enclosed world cosmology. The question of the creator, the builder, the designer. The question of what it's all for, and what we're all in here to do. Some people want to merely focus on the flat earth itself, as some kind of unifying principle, some kind of banner under which everyone should be content to find community and common ground. And while I very much appreciate these sentiments to a certain degree, ultimately I find myself reflecting upon the fact that way back in the earliest stage of history, when virtually all cultures and peoples believed in some kind of enclosed world, this commonality did not by itself translate into the absence of all the same ills we tire of today. It did not mean the absence of tyranny, the absence of empire, the absence of oppression, or war, or plunder. It did not prevent mankind from splitting into endless factions based on the struggle for power and resources. It did not bring peace. And interestingly enough, in virtually all of these ancient cultures which shared the broader belief in an enclosed cosmology, there was one singular perspective which set itself out as distinct from the rest. The majority of these ancient kingdoms and cultures held some form of the view that civilization itself was initiated and guided by an array of advanced beings who descended from the heavens above. The Anunnaki, the gods, the Watchers, the Dragon Kings. They were described by many names, but in every case they were revered as the ones who held the keys for mankind to learn the secrets necessary to perfect himself, and one day ascend back to where these magnificent creatures originated from. But in the midst of all these traditions, there was one which stood apart. In the conviction of this small, isolated line of people, the only being worth trusting was the Creator himself, the Eternal One, the God who made everything, even the host of angelic creatures both in the heavens and below. And this God, this Creator who claimed to stand above all the other figures of worship, had a most singularly unique appraisal of the condition of man. Unlike the teachings of all the other so-called gods, this message did not claim that humans could one day climb the ladder of progress to the eventuality of a long-sought quantum leap in consciousness. There was no cyclical wheel of birth, death, and rebirth, no mountain of pious works to hope to accomplish, no secret rituals to learn and unlock the mysteries thereof. You see, among all these centers of civilization and alleged progress, was a universal sense of longing, a striving, a recognition of the underlying need to break free, to escape. And these false, finite, fallen gods provided an endless array of ways by which men and women sought to enlist the assistance of these beings in the quest for enlightenment, for ascension. Countless generations in times past devoted themselves to the worship of these idols, in the hope of finding that elusive way out, through magical arts, through arduous pilgrimages, through the building of elaborate temples and monolithic structures, even through the sacrifice of their own children. Yet the longing endured, the key to this prison of humanity never being attained. Mankind could never escape his own self, his own internal nature, and this is what sets the God of Abraham apart from all others. The God of the Bible, in contrast, tells us the rather unwelcome news that no matter what mystical secrets we might try to seek out, no matter what spiritual disciplines we might apply, no matter what towers we build, no matter what machines we might construct, there is simply no way out. No way out, that is, on our own. Because ultimately that which imprisons us is not the lack of some secret knowledge, or the activation of our third eye, or our ego, or even the physical universe itself, but rather our own rebellious souls. The reality of the sinful condition of man, as taught in the Bible, is unlike anything else, in any other philosophy, theology, or cosmology. It is the prison which we are by far most hesitant to acknowledge, and as such we prefer to instead pound against every other type of wall imaginable, in our ceaseless quest to break free from the feeling of bondage. We continue turning to idols, appealing to dreams of progress, of eventually conquering the universe, whether in the context of materialistic space travel or transcending the physical altogether and achieving pure consciousness. But Jesus, as the central figure of the Bible, in both the Old and New Testament, stands alone, as the pivotal piece of the biblical message, which proclaims first a finite, fixed, enclosed, immovable earth, and then us, fallen humanity, finite, enclosed, imprisoned in our sin. Only Jesus provides a way of escape, a way out. There's an irony in the comparison of both enclosed flat earth cosmology and Big Bang Copernican cosmology, in the sense that in both paradigms, one can set out to study and understand everything in the cosmos from the earth to the sun to the moon and stars, and yet never take the time to intently study the reality of their own heart, never stop and take stock of their own life, their own state, their own innermost being. And this is simply what I challenge everyone to do, above all else. Before seeking to comprehend the amazing reality of the earth or the heavens, to simply get honest with yourself. To ask yourself if perhaps indeed this prison of sin in your own life, as the Bible describes, might actually be some of the most powerful evidence of all that what the Bible says is really true. Because the most beautiful news in the entire world is that Jesus broke down the prison door. He laid down his own life in order to become the door, the gate, the portal, if you will, to everything that humanity has hungered to get back to since the beginning. He is the only way out, the only bridge between heaven and earth, between death and life, the only opening to the impervious firmament separating us from the Creator himself, through which we can freely walk and enter into the kingdom of our Father. Many people out there are under the impression that the Bible is simply another tool of control by the lying, murderous elites, but yet, if you dare to open up the Bible yourself and read what it says, I am convinced that you will quickly begin to see how utterly false this claim really is. Those who seek to control humanity and break through the barriers apart from God are only kidding themselves. In their futility, they insist upon creating their own door to eternity, to godhood, to immortality. But you and I can make that same mistake. I pray that there are at least a small few of you out there who hear this and recognize that there is something resoundingly true about what I am saying, and if so, that you would seek the one who holds the key, that you would seek Jesus. Ask him. Cry out to him. He will hear you. He always does. He's right there waiting. Thank you.